I'd say one of the easiest ways would be running. Let's say you have 1,000 followers, you make a post, you hardly get any likes. The easiest way of using ads and cost little money is just to put some money to reach the people who already follow you. And the reason why is because a lot of people are saying, all right, there's some people who just won't do ads, they do organic, but if the people that said they wanted to see your stuff aren't seeing you, you've already built some kind of trust with them, so why not make sure that they're seeing your stuff? So that's when we were talking about doing the retargeting, hitting up people who already know who you are. I think that's probably the easiest thing you can do just to automatically extend your reach. I would say also building an audience.
Welcome to the Ocean Mighty Learning Podcast, where genius is celebrated, joy is the catalyst, and we learn most deeply by teaching what lights us up. I'm Parshel Oshimade, executive learning producer, curriculum designer, and former high school math teacher, and lover of all things wisdom.
And I'm Portia Michelle Oshimade, client experience designer, business coach, joy strategist, and a lifelong learner of the sacred and the strategic. Together, we're excavating wisdom from our brightest and most brilliant friends and partners, gaining insight that transform how we learn and how we teach in today's world.
So join us as we offer insights, community wisdom, and unique perspectives on experiential learning. So welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Oshimade Learning Podcast. My name is Portia Michelle Oshimade.
What up? I'm Parshel Oshimade. How you doing?
Good. Happy to be here for another week. Excited about this podcast today. I know we are literally just getting in from LA. This whole weekend was such a good time. I got to see my coach who lives in Hawaii in LA, and she was like, I can't believe you drove 4 hours. I was like, girl, it's closer than Hawaii. And I drove it again, and we were having such masterful, really yummy conversation. So I'm still really kind of reeling about that. Before I get into kind of what we learned, how are you doing, Parshel?
I'm doing pretty good. Definitely feeling rested. It's something about the air in California. It's like, well, compared to here in Vegas, of course, you go outside, You just need immediate moisture. It's just not in the air. So I feel really rested and grounded coming back from that trip, and getting to put my eyes on the ocean felt good also. So I'm feeling pretty rested and feeling good going into the week.
Good. Well, I'll ask you first. What'd you learn? What have you learned about either yourself or in general from last time we were on a podcast chatting about it?
Oh my gosh. Well, I also got to benefit learning from Clorinda, your coach. So, man, just learning about how business can be meaningful through ceremony, right? The beauty of how, like, when you take ceremony and the importance and the reverence that you come to those moments, I think that we can find, and I've learned that we can find those moments in our business, especially when it comes to marketing. Like, it doesn't have to feel icky and crazy. It can be authentic. It can be from a place of knowing who you are. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate it, just kind of grounding into that and learning more about seeing business from that lens. For sure. What about you? What was your big learning?
I'm with you in that same boat. It's so funny. Our cousin Cache really pointed out to me that those who are in the Pacific, Polynesian Islands, Melanesian Islands, like quite a few of them, have only been colonized for 150 years. So there's such a breadth of information of what it was like to have commerce pre-colonization, commerce pre-capitalism. And the indigenous thought processes around serving community and having that be what business is and how it works for you and it works for them. So harmonious and natural and symbiotic and so uncontrived. That was the thing that was the loudest for me is what's so amazing about studying with people who indigenous wisdom to bring to a business conversation is it is so natural and organic. There's no, hey, look at me, let me try to, talk you into something you don't want to buy, or let me try to make it seem like it's quality when it's not. And the craftsmanship of spending time building right relationship and that being the basis of business, I'll never get over it. Because I do think that like that skill set is the skill set that's necessary. If you think about every person who's done good in business for years, it's a skill set that they have mastered in their bones, even if they don't talk about it. And regardless of algorithmic conversations and technological advancements, your ability to be able to do that is necessary to wield the technology. At the end of the day, right? To even be able to understand where to put it and rather than getting lost in it. So I'm stoked about kind of our conversation today as we get into what that means. And I'm coming to it from an interesting lens of like what it was like for people before computers even existed and what we look like in a reality where people are embedding computer chips in the back of their brain. Such a, you know, like we there's so much there in the spectrum that it's like finding where we're at in the middle is I'm so intrigued at this conversation and so excited to be getting ready to have it with who we're getting ready to have it with, because one of my favorite persons to think about these types of thoughts with
is definitely Jeraud Norman. I'm so
truly
always happy to be in his aura, in his presence. And so today's no different, even though we're on different sides of the coast, y'all. Jeraud is like my brother from another mother. And I'm just excited for y'all to get to experience his brilliance. So, Portia, do you want to jump off with some fun intro questions for Jeraud? Well, because what we like to do here is like get to know you for real, and then we'll read the bio.
Exactly. Jeraud, prepare yourself. Welcome to the hot seat.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate having both you all on, and yeah, just being in you guys' energy is always great. So to have both of you at the same time, and hopefully we're planning to see each other in September. That's gonna be dope. So I appreciate you all having me on.
Yes, I'm so excited about it. Rod, this is our rapid fire question round. Ooh, come on back, Mike. This is our rapid fire question round. We always like to say that, like, this is how we get to know you for real before we read your bio and hear all the brilliant things that you do in life. These are some get to know you questions. You have full consent. Whether you would like to answer said questions or not, you can skip any ones that you desire. But my request is that if you do answer the first thing that comes to your head. And again, rapid fire. So I have 7 questions for you. We'll go through them very quickly. I personally think that they will tell us a lot about who you are as a human. But we start off really nice and slow, nice and light, and then we may slowly but surely turn the heat up just a little bit. Starting nice and slow. What would you say is the most practical thing in your Amazon?
I don't have anything in there. I literally bought my son some Goli this morning. He acts like he needs it to sleep, so he told me to get it for him. And usually when he asks me to do something, I don't do it right away, especially if he's not with me. So I ordered it this morning. I even did the buy now without adding it to cart.
Okay. We love to see it again. The efficiency. There's nothing in my cart. I get the things that I need. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Moving a little bit slightly hotter, but not too hot. Keeping it light. What's one movie that you love, but you feel like everybody else hates?
Dang. I was trying to think of something I love that everybody else hates. I don't know. I love Hall Pass, and it's not really for everyone.
What was Hall Pass about?
Hall Pass is when the guy gets a break from marriage for like a few days.
Uh,
He tells him he can do whatever he wants, but then he can't do it because he loves his family.
well, that's it. That's wholesome.
It's hilarious though. It's hilarious though. But if you're not into that type of comedy, then yeah, you might not like it. But that's probably one of the funnier movies I ever seen. So, but I can't say a movie I like that no one else likes, because I was thinking Man on Fire. I just watched that yesterday. But if you don't like Man on Fire, I never heard anybody say they didn't like that.
I loved Man on.
It was awesome, man. I watched it again yesterday, and I don't even watch movies like that. So yeah, it was good.
Well, that's a good one. Okay. Well, in that same lane where we're moving into kind of like younger self, if I gave your 10-year-old self $150, what do you think you would have bought for yourself?
Probably would have bought some NBA basketball jersey, an official one, not a replica.
Okay. What was your least favorite haircut as a child and why?
Bald, because they didn't feel like they didn't want to keep getting us haircuts, and it was just out of efficiency for them, but they literally just take all my hair off. So I didn't particularly care for it being bald, but I didn't mind it being low. So that's why I let my son grow his hair out, because he has dreads now, and my mom.
Okay. Last little run to kind of pop into. You're at a drive-through. Well, we got 2 more questions actually. You're at a drive-through you're not supposed to be at, and you know you're not supposed to be there. What is the drive-through, and what is the non-negotiable food that you're ordering regardless of what's happening?
McDonald's. I kind of boycotted McDonald's years ago. Not for any reason other than they're usually the most accessible. But if I was going to go to McDonald's, I'd prefer to go for breakfast, and I would love a McGriddles. They still taste good. I just got to stay.
Bacon or sausage, sir?
Bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle.
That's the
Good.
right answer. Thank you so much.
And granted, I never really drank that much, but I heard a really good hangover food was that steak, egg, and cheese bagel. So I had that once. That was pretty good.
Never had a bagel at McDonald's, so there you go. Goes to show. All right, now we have to ask you the last black person question because you're here, and this is the question that really helps people understand whether or not they are team you or not. Salt or sugar in your grits? Let us know. Most controversial question across the board.
I actually prefer sugar in my grits. I don't even eat grits like that, but if I'm gonna eat grits, I'd rather have sugar and or butter.
That is the right answer, sir. This is how we knew we were related. This is why, because that is the right answer.
I love that.
Yeah, so no. Those are interesting questions though. I like
Well,
it.
look, thank you for allowing us to get to know you a little bit more behind the scenes. Parshall, will you let us know officially who is Jeraud Norman and why we are so excited about him coming onto this podcast
Yes,
today?
yes. All right, y'all. Today's guest is not only a marketing powerhouse, like I said, he's also, I call him my brother from another mother. We first crossed paths actually back in, I think it was 2016, maybe, through Billy Jean, who's a marketing guru expert, and he had a program, so we met there. And ever since, I've admired the resilience, the hustle, and the heart that Jeraud brings to everything he does. So let me set the scene. I know you said over your bio, so let me give people the real. So over a decade, he worked on aircraft carriers and submarines at Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia. But life threw him a massive curveball in 2012 when he and his 2-year-old son were hit by an 18-wheeler truck. And that moment changed everything. He lost his job, his home went into foreclosure, and he found himself as a single dad of 2 boys facing mountains of debt. And through all the challenges, he tried different ventures to take care of his family, and every road led him back to one thing, which is marketing. So in 2017, he founded Jeraud Marketing Group, where their mission is simple and powerful: turning strangers into customers using AI, automation, and paid ads. And since then, they've worked with businesses across industries worldwide, even being tapped by the United States Air Force to boost recruitment. And over the last 8 years, they've generated over $50 million in revenue for their clients. So excited, you all, to learn from my friend, my brother, Jeraud.
That's crazy to hear. Anybody else talks about it, it's like I forget about all that stuff. My wife's really good at reminding me, and then situations like this, we need to be consistently reminded of what we overcome. So yeah, I appreciate you reading that. I'm just sitting there like, hope I'm not making all these crazy faces on the camera, but I'm just like,
That's wild. I didn't even know some of these things, Jeraud. And again, I think for me, one of the things that I love so much about learning from you, Jeraud, one, for those of y'all who know, Jeraud is, again, when Parshall says brother from another mother, from the moment I entered Parshall's life, Jeraud was like, you are with Parshall, you are equally family. And I've always felt so at home with you, Jeraud. And you've always gone out of the way to make me feel like seen, and also just like the genuine down to earth human element when we're talking about such complex concepts. One of my favorite things about learning from Jeraud inside of our support squad community, and even just in general, like I'm learning as a business owner, Jeraud takes these very complex concepts and makes them simple and easy to understand. And I really find that you do a really good job of helping them be applicable for somebody like me who's not the most tech savvy. Sometimes these concepts can feel like I X myself out of the conversation before I even start because the complexity is beyond my ability to be able to unpack. I never feel like that when I'm learning from Jeraud. I sit across, I ask a question, I get to the root of said question, and I'm always like, oh, I get that. And I think that that's just a testament to your ability to be able to be a really great human. And, that marketing job is 10 out of 10. And I think in general, the patience and the kindness that you take with every person who sits in front of you. And I know I am one of those people, but it's quite a few of our people's people have said very similar things. So I'm so excited to get into this conversation with Jeraud today, y'all. Listen in. You will want your notebooks. This will be one of those. I can tell you now. You are going to want to go, oh, what did he say? What was that program? What was the XYZ? So go get your notebook now to make sure that you have that out. And Jeraud, thank you so much for being here and allowing us to pick your brain a little bit today on this podcast.
feelings mutual. Yeah, and like you said, you're with her. We're all together. So yeah, I appreciate you. I love you both. And I'm just happy that I get to be in you all's energy the same way you feel about me. So I like win-win situation. So dealing with you both is a win-win for me, and I just appreciate it.
Love. Well, thank you. And we're glad to be winning with you. Give me a little bit of background, Jeraud. So we talked a little bit, obviously Parshell kind of broke down how we got to 2017, but tell me a little bit about why marketing seemed to be the thing that kept coming up. Like, what's your history with marketing in general, and how did it become a place where you wanted to really sink your teeth into and grow business in?
Yeah, that's crazy. After my first surgery, and it's weird even hearing the story about the car accident because it happened so long ago, and it's almost like I try to forget it, but it's like a part of me, so I can't all the way. But I had my first surgery. It happened May 15th, 2012, because my oldest son turned 7. I dropped him off at school, and then I took my 2-year-old son, and that's when it happened. And that December is when I got my first surgery. I had to get 2 surgeries, and that was the first surgery. And these guys, like Rich Dad Poor Dad / Flip This House, the guys from A&E, they were on the radio, and they still, similar programs, they're on the radio. They tell you to come to an event to learn real estate. And I heard it, and then I was like, well, I got this surgery. I don't know when I can go back to work. They're not paying me because it didn't happen at work. I got to figure out how, in this time that I have, that recovery wasn't even the first thought, which it should have been. How do I make sure that I can take care of us and possibly not have to go back to working at shipyard, because I was kind of over it by then. And you go to this event, and they rent out some big hotel, and they're basically just walking you through their program. And it's like, one of the things I learned today is, like, when you're pitching, especially high ticket, you want to show people the program that they're going to be working in. And at a certain point, I stopped taking notes because I realized there's no way I can do this without some type of guide. That was like the first time I realized I needed a coach. And I still didn't even fully understand it. It was just like the awareness was like, man, without these guys' system, I can't write all this shit down. I don't have replay and all this other stuff. And so then I just started looking at it from a deeper lens. And then they reached out at the end of the conference, they're like 25 G's, and you got this full system. First time I ever been pitched high ticket. And I was just like, it didn't scare me. It was like, how do I get 25,000? I didn't understand money the way I do now. I literally, again, lost the job. Took a pay cut before I lost my job because I switched shipyards trying to dodge politics. And I was like, shit, how do I get 25 grand? Didn't know. Then they called me a week or 2 later, which is what we call in the industry as a downsell. And they said, hey, we got a wholesaling program, because the first for 25,000 was a coaching program where they teach you how to fix and flip and all this other stuff. And they said, we got a program that's 5,000. It's for wholesale, and we'll get you jump started so you can start making money for deals. And then once you make money for deals, you can get into fixing and flipping. And I was like, all right. So I joined that program. And so again, being at the conference was the first time I seen marketing. And then when I joined that program, some of the stuff they told us to do, I was doing. I did everything they told us to do anyway. And one of them was to go to a local, they call them RIAs, Real Estate Investor and Association meetings. So I found out where those were, and I started attending. And then when I went to the event, they said, basically, you're running to other investors and make connections. And I did. And there was a guy who was at the conference that I went to when I didn't have the 25 grand. He had it. I didn't know he had it, but I remember him distinctly because his wife was like a real life narcoleptic. Like, majority of the time I went to the bathroom because I was drinking a lot of water, she was literally, and I was on crutches, so I had to keep crutching over to the bathroom. She was literally asleep in the seats by the bathroom. And so when I ran into him and talked to him and I met his wife, I was like, oh, you're the guy and that's your wife. And he was like, yeah, well, I had the 25,000. I need some help. You can be my marketing guy. And I was just like, what the hell makes you think I know marketing? I'm fresh out the shipyard. I started diving into the marketing program that he bought. Money wasn't moving fast enough. I passed up on some other opportunities because I wanted to go all in on it. And then I just decided that I just didn't know enough, and I was too deep into survival mode and trying to learn something new. And I decided I wasn't going to try to make that work. I think I could have, but it just didn't work out. But the thing I switched into next was, what do they call it, network marketing. Like, probably could have just stayed in real estate. But in the network marketing, I found a company. Long story short, if I go to Walmart, instead of going straight to the website, if I went through my link, I could get 5% cash back. And I actually started getting real money on stuff I was buying, and I was looking to sell that. And I wasn't making as much money as I wanted. And then these internet marketer guys came into the business and started killing it overnight. And they were like, I was known as the hardest working guy in the company, which I stopped liking that because it was like, y'all say that, but y'all make way more money than I do. So, and then the guy was like, why don't you just put it in front of people who already have what you want? And there was this thing called Ebates back then. He's like, you can find people who like Ebates and couponing and make sure they see it because they're more likely to take advantage. And I was like, man, that's like freaking the best idea I ever heard, because I'm literally running up and down in Virginia Beach in shopping centers, passing out a bunch of cards, running up on people, talking to them. Like, and I'm an introvert that found a way to be extroverted because I know I needed to find a way. And when they told me that, I was like, well, shit, that allows me to be more of an introvert because I really don't want to talk to these people anyway. But I'll do what I got to do. And then they gave us a coaching program, and then I flew out to Vegas to learn more from them. That was a crazy trip as well. I didn't hardly have any money. And I found a way to catch a bus up to D.C. from Virginia, flew from D.C. to Vegas, stayed in one of the nastiest hotels ever, and then I flew back. But it was worth it because it helped me learn. And on the way home, because it was an event, this lady, she was on stage and she was making $20K a month, and she probably started a month or two before the event. And when you're in network marketing, you're trying to start up conversations so you can get shit going, right? And I'm on the plane, so I'm looking at my notes and hoping to start a conversation without being forceful. And this lady could give a fuck about me and what I'm doing. And she happened to glance over and she said, oh, she saw my workbook. She said, yeah, I was there. And I was like, you were? And then I looked at her and she's like, yeah, my name is, I think her name was Carol something. I was like, you the motherfucker on stage making $20K. And you could care less about talking to anyone because you're doing stuff through marketing. And come to find out, she had a network, but at the same time, it was the marketing stuff that these guys were doing. And then halfway through the flight, 'cause I had a connection in Chicago, I said, that's it. When I get home, I'm just learning marketing, because if I could figure out how to get people to me and not worry about it, I wanted to have that same peace of mind she did on the plane. Whether she's still successful or not, I don't know. But in that moment, she was. And that's when I decided I was going to go all in. I stopped doing network marketing and I just started riding up and down the street. And I was like, every business is a potential customer. And if I could help people get customers, I'd never be out of business. And that's when I decided I would go all in. And then I decided, not too long after that, every customer is not a good customer. So I don't want to work with everyone. But in theory, everybody's always going to need customers. Everybody's always going to need to have to sell. And I started selling before I did marketing. So I come with a different approach because I understand it's really about the money. And if someone's paying you and they're not getting anything out of it, how long are they going to do that before they pull the plug? And my whole thing is not to squeeze as much out of someone before they want to stop. It's how do I keep it going? And it's a mutual benefit, a win-win for both of us. And if it isn't, if I see that out the gate, I turned something down last week. A lady was like, yeah, this guy wants to do this. I'm like, he don't have enough money, and it's not about him having enough money. He's just too new. He don't even know what he wants to sell. So for him to be paying, the investment that it would take to get me in to do the work, he's going to be in the energy he's going to be in isn't going to be good, and I don't like working in that energy. Let him go get some wins and come back, and maybe I'll still be doing this, maybe I won't. And then it's kind of how it goes.
Love. And it's so interesting that you said that, Jeraud. It's probably the reason why I think I find such a resonance with you. It's like I came to work very similarly in the sense of like, especially came to business very similarly. It's like, oh, somebody asked me, can you help me do this? I'm like, oh, I can figure it out. You know what I mean? And I think that when you've spent some years in the sweat equity of like having to actually do the walking of going to places and having conversations and figuring that out, when you have done all of that, it makes learning kind of new and improved and more efficient ways have a little bit more grounding, because you have to actually know where it came from, which I think is kind of different than quite a few of the guys who got into this in the boom and learned something new quick and didn't really understand the value and the pieces of that. So this is something that you said that I thought I'm interested in kind of like getting into a little bit further. You had mentioned that someone came to you and they didn't have anything to sell, or they weren't sure what they wanted to sell. And I know, as a person who specializes in paid traffic, and oftentimes so many folks want to go straight to marketing before they've done maybe necessarily some of the pre-steps. What are some of the steps that you find that you want people to have done before they sit down and even think about a paid ad strategy?
In all honesty, I think the biggest thing is just, what are you offering? Whether it's your product or service. If it's a product, I think it's simpler to understand the offering. But I think the biggest challenge most people face, and I got like this workbook that anybody who listens to this, if you want my free course, that's fine. It comes with a workbook. I'll give it to you. Usually sell it for $400. But the first step in there is choose one product or service. And this comes from like where I met Parshell with Billy, is a lot of times people will try to sell too many things at once, and you can't really focus in on the problem that the person's facing to offer your solution if you're talking about so many different things. And like an easy example of that is like with real estate agents, they're always like, I could help you buy or sell. And it's true, but it sounds like everything else. Versus when I bought my first house, there was a whole bunch of things that I didn't understand and didn't know about. So if that same realtor were to talk to me about those challenges I could be facing buying a house, it'd be way more impactful, and I'd be more likely to choose him or her based on the fact they're giving me this value versus I can help you buy and sell. I know I need to buy a house, but that ain't telling me shit. And then I'm not even interested in something for somebody else. So just getting that done. So you have to know what you're offering. And then once you do that, a lot of people have multiple offers. How do we make it where we focus on one without you feeling like you're alienating everything else? Because just because I might focus on one part of my marketing company, don't mean if something else comes my way, I got to turn it down. But if we're putting energy to put something out there, you can't do it all. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And even as someone who's a marketer, doing that for myself, I've ran into that. Partially because I spend most of my time getting my clients results. But, we're putting infrastructure in place where I'm actually freed up now to do more for myself and use the good for myself, because that was the initial goal. It was never to be doing it this long, even though I'm going to keep it going. It was to help enough people get what they want, and I get what I want, and then when I get what I want, figure out what I want to do next. And I didn't know what I wanted to do next, so I ended up staying.
Well, it sounds like it ended up being the thing that tends to work the best. It's interesting that you say that also, because I feel like what sparks for me when you're saying that is like, there are offers I want to market, and then there are offers that don't necessarily need as big of a marketing machine because I can sell them already in that certain way. You know what I mean? So I think that also what I may be hearing for people who are listening is like, what is the offer you want to go all in on putting a marketing machine around? What's going to be best to actually sit and be marketed? I'm interested in, a couple of things. One, I'm interested to hear kind of what your Billie Jean experience. I know you and Parshall were both kind of in that lane, and Parshall always talks about learning so much about internet marketing in that way of like all the different ways in which you can drive traffic to something in a way that is convicting enough to get someone to want to make a good decision for themselves. And I'm also interested in kind of like what makes someone have an offer that's going to lend itself well to paid traffic. But so tell me a little bit about kind of how paid traffic ended up being your thing. Is that came from the Billie Jean side, or like where did that land?
So after I decided to stop doing the network marketing, I started having a vision of helping businesses with their marketing as I rode down the street. And funny enough, Billy shows up in my news feed. I don't even watch ads back then. Black dude, looks like me, hops in a car, takes us to his office. And it was like the vision that I saw for myself, not his exact office, but what he had put together was what I was thinking about for the past week. And to have someone show up and that be the vision. So that's where it was. And it was his energy, what he was talking about. And one thing that I like is when you do organic, there's people who can prove they make money with organic. So I don't want to just categorize it all in one spot, but for the most part, a lot of people who do organic marketing, I don't think they can prove their results. And it's really a whole how many times did you get seen game, and no one ever talks about the back end of making money. And it's the same thing to me with sales. Like I could have done the posting social media stuff for people and hope they keep paying me even if they're not making money because they feel like they need it. And it's the same thing on the ad side. If I run ads and I get you a bunch of leads and opportunities, but you can't sell, you're going to, eventually it's not going to make sense for you. So my thing is I picked this because I know I can prove results. And I feel like it's one of the fastest ways to grow your business in the world. SEO is great, but it takes a while. Google ads are great, but they are quite expensive. And then the other side to Google ads is there's no personal connection. So the secret sauce that Billy taught us years ago that everybody's been catching on to now is the know, like, and trust that's developed through video, the values created after the experience. So if I show up on video and I say something to you and it resonates with you, you got a name and a face, plus, you got my voice. Like I had a sales call earlier for another thing I'm selling. It's not marketing related. And the third guy said, hey man, your approach, I like your voice. I find you interesting. And it wasn't a sales pitch, even though I know that, you're more than likely going to ask me to buy something. I'm still here. And I was just like, all right, word, right? He got to idea of who I was before he met me. When on Google, it's none of that. You see the little thing like this big, and maybe you click to the website and something's there, but I captured you because I resonated with you.
That makes a ton of sense to me. And Parshall, give me an idea from your lens, like what are the things that you picked up from the Billy experience? Because I know for you, Jeraud, you were like with him for a cool amount of time, but also worked inside the back end and kind of saw how the sausage got made. I know Parshall, you kind of, to a certain extent, had a similar experience. What were some of the things that you picked up about marketing from that experience?
It's interesting. I think from Billy, when it came to the marketing, he's a great teacher. And
Yeah,
so
great.
when you talk about, to Jeraud's point around like what can you leverage in paid ads, is you just showing up in yourself and in your element. So I got to see Billy do that very often and see the results that would come by, that mixture of showing up in your essence and who you are, so that way people really get to know you and like you, and that being a really big factor that converts there. I think, marketing too, from the way that I would see Billy create, was all around the experiences. It's like his marketing is also a big part of the experience. So everything that he did just had a really strong experience factor to it as well. So I learned just observing and hearing from like Billy's perspective, but then also just the things that he would experiment with, and what he would play with. He's a very playful teacher, and he really brings people into that element. And I learned through example. I think the biggest thing with Billy, and just the power of educating people through entertaining at the same time. Like, he's the master of that.
The Ocean Mighty Learning Podcast is brought to you by two sponsors that are near and dear to our hearts, because we built them. First up, Business Cousins. Business Cousins is a collective of called to serve leaders who are building businesses that create impact that actually matters. We're about doing real good in the world, giving people the results they paid for, and having a damn good time doing it. If you're into running a business that you actually love, hanging out with smart and soulful folks while you do it, and being supported every step of the way, this may be the room for you. We host gatherings, workshops, and offer ongoing business development support that's as human as it is helpful. If you're interested, apply today at thebusinesscousin.com. Check us out at www.thebusinesscousin.com. And then there's the Author's Leverage. That's our studio for turning your body of work into powerful learning tools. Whether it's digital workbooks, private podcasts, or binge-worthy education content that helps you scale your impact without burning out, we specialize in transforming complex ideas into accessible, engaging learning experiences that your audience will actually use and implement. Our team of expert creators, instructional designers, and production specialists ensure that your wisdom reaches more people in the ways that truly resonate. If you're an expert, author, thought leader, sitting on brilliance, let us help you package it. Learn more at theauthorsleverage.com. That is theauthorsleverage.com.
Yeah, I would say out of all the people I've learned from for free or paid money to, he's definitely my favorite teacher of all time. School, professional, just the way he teaches. And when you guys said at the beginning that I take complicated stuff and make it simple, that made me smile. And that's something that he prides himself on. He says it's the mark of a genius. So, and he spells it differently with his name Gene in it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he takes super simple stuff. And I remember asking him the first time I met him in person, I was like, bro, how do you say the same shit over and over again in different ways and keep people entertained? And he really didn't have an answer. He didn't, but I just had to ask him. And I see now, because I have to do the same thing. Am I as entertaining as Billy? I don't think so. I think I could be as I open myself a little bit more in my own way. But yeah, Billy's a very special person. So I'm definitely glad that he's a part of my journey and that he put himself out there through paid ads and allowed me to learn from him. And it wasn't just him too. He'll tell you it's his team as well. And I actually consider all those people over there my friends. And, I don't really claim a lot of folks, but I don't claim folks or family like that unless you're real family. So I'll claim them forever.
That's fantastic. And I think that there's something so interesting that both of you all said about like the idea of marketing, right? Particularly a video. It's like, you got to have the thing that you're good at. You got to have the thing that you're either going to be known for. If you're a great teacher, then you should be teaching, and we want to see it and we want to feel it, right? If you're someone who's great at explaining things, we want you to explain the concept so that we can see that this is going to be a thing that we're going to be getting. And I think that there's something really magical about paid ads specifically and video ads specifically in that lane that does that in a way that you don't necessarily pick up on articles, that you're not actually going to pick up as much even on social media posts. Like, there's something about it that is the sweet spot. But I love, Jeraud, so much about what you said around like, I can run ads all day long, but if you can't sell, then you're not gonna make money. You can sell really well, but if nobody knows that you exist, we may not be able to have the reach. So I think that it is this interesting kind of combination of the two that allows for some real sweet spot. And tell me a little bit about kind of,
I'm interested now as we're getting into this conversation around AI. How does AI show up now in that world that we are kind of, everyone has it on their mind. Everyone's now an AI expert, which is so interesting to me because I'm like, nobody was an expert a month ago. Not everybody is an expert, but it sounds like it's just because of the saturation of all of the applications where you can place AI. How have you been seeing it showing up in your world in regards to the ads sales lane?
I mean, in the ad sales lane, I think for the people that really know what they're doing with it, and you don't have to be like PhD level, because people call me an AI expert, and I honestly don't think I am. I'm just really good at using it for what I need it for. But there's a whole different, like when I get on with real AI gurus, they be talking about shit I'd never heard, and I'm just like, all right, I'm here to learn, but I'm not a guru in any shape, form, and imagination. So how I see it as far as like when it's in the marketing and sales space, few different ways. For us, we got this thing called speed to lead, right? So now you got people coming to you, whether it's however you run your advertising. And the biggest challenge we run into with people is their follow up. And again, that whole sales thing. But the sales starts with the follow up. So if you can't sell and if you can't get people on the phone, you don't have an opportunity to sell, whether you could sell or not. So we focus on that part, and how we use it is we can have, we call it an AI chat bot or whatever. We can have it on people's websites where it can have live conversations and attempt to sell and or book. We can have it connected to our text messaging. If we have them text a specific number, it can hold a conversation with them, tied directly into something like ChatGPT. We got voice AI now that if a new lead came in right now, my voice AI could literally pick up the phone and call it and try to schedule it if they didn't schedule, and put it on my calendar in real time or transfer it to me if I'm not busy. So that's kind of how we're using it in marketing and sales. And even in with the AI, we're also, a friend of mine, he's like, actually met him through Billy, my boy Blake, shout out to him. He does sales trainings, right? So we're talking about, and I got this idea from another guy that's in another community I'm in, building an AI sales, because you're supposed to do the, what do they call it? The role play. A lot of people don't role play enough in sales. So we're going to build a voice AI that's going to basically be specifically for role playing for different companies so that they can.
So that's gold.
Yeah, so that's how we're seeing it show up. And obviously there's some more advanced things too. I think the biggest thing with AI for anyone who's listening is there's so many applications. I'm not saying you have to use ChatGPT. I just prefer it because it integrates easy with everything, but there's other comparable solutions. Just don't get caught up in what I like to call them the info crack dealers, info tool dealers, because you got these guys that, and I can see a few of these guys in my head, because I actually will follow their page on Facebook or Instagram, but sometimes I got to turn it off because it's like 1 minute ChatGPT is the greatest thing since sliced bread. The next minute it's shit. The next minute this one's good. And it's all in the same day. And I'm just like, all they're doing is causing distortion and distraction in the market. And I wouldn't even say they're all doing it intentionally, but because obviously they have something to sell in the back end. And a lot of times they're just trying to get affiliate commissions off of the new thing. But it's like, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, and again, I don't think a lot of them are, it just puts people in a position where they have access to all the tools and get more shit done than they ever could, and they're not doing shit because they're trying another tool before they did shit with the last tool they got. So for the most part, I mean, again, I'm not saying I'm right. I use ChatGPT for a majority of what I do. Obviously, as I continue to get more advanced, I might have to get other things involved, but I'm maxing ChatGPT out. I write all my marketing through it. Using all the frameworks that I've learned from Billy and other folks, I've basically created my own mix that works. It pumps that out for me. It does emails, text messages. I can create posts. I can write video scripts. There's all these things I can do with it, and that's majority of what I use the AI for. And then aside from that, if I need something else like an Opus Clips to cut something out like this, I'll do it. But I'm not jumping from Opus Clips to video and this and this and that and not doing shit. And that's what I see. A lot of waste is people not doing shit. And then when you use something like ChatGPT or a similar thing, learning how to put brakes on it, because if you ask it for information, it might just give you, say, hey, I want to write an email sequence, and you don't say you want 10, shit might give you 5, 10, 100 emails, and you're like, this is great, but then you don't do shit with it because you're overwhelmed, So it's like, that's the basics of AI that I've been teaching, is find a tool that works, max it out, and find a way to slow it down to get the information so you can actually take action and not be over. It's like a high of dopamine and overwhelm at the same time they're not used to. And then sometimes they'll be like, well, I'm not going to do anything else in this chat because I don't want to lose the thing that it gave me. So then you stop doing shit, or you just skip over and don't do shit. And it's just a whole bunch of shit not happening, which I don't like. So
that's interesting that you say that too, because it also speaks to like general business leadership. I feel like I'm always having conversations with folks about like Don't come and ask for strategy until you know what you need. Don't come and go to the AI. Like, you don't need to learn AI. What you need is to learn your business, to know what it is that you're needing additional support with, and then seeing if there's an AI tool that may be able to support you with that, right? Or if there's strategy that you may need to be able to get supported with that. But it starts with you knowing what you need. And I also want to name, we know that AI is an extractive and an exploitative process that oftentimes has a huge footprint, and I wanted to make it very clear on this podcast. I know that it can tend to have a huge footprint that does harm to a lot of communities, and particularly Black and Brown communities. However, I do feel like there is no way that we eliminate ourselves from this conversation, because the conversation is happening. And while we involve ourselves so that we can be involved in how things are built and how things are created and the way that it is going to impact these communities, you're only going to know that if you're involved in the conversation, rather than pretending like it doesn't exist because it's Big Brother on the outside. Tell me, kind of in that same vein of conversation, what is it that you're seeing from the inside that you think is the future of where things are going in this industry with more AI, good or bad?
I think let's start with the good. From the good, I think it's a time saver altogether. Because, like, let's say I could spool up something right now, and let's say it came out 100% correct. Even if it doesn't, like, I'm very creative, but sometimes as a creative, and maybe you can speak to this, Parshell, even though you're very creative, sometimes it's hard to come up with an idea you like, or you have so many ideas you don't know where to start. And having something like this can literally guide you through a process. So if I want to come up with a video idea, I could just ask it, and then it actually starts the process for me, and I can start coming up with stuff. Then it brings me into my creative zone so I can do my thing. So I like that, and I feel like, our community, especially learning it and using it to our advantage, and like you said, not acting like it doesn't exist because it's here. And I think it's part of the greatest transfer of wealth, and this allows you to create more wealth if you know what to do with it, right? So from the good standpoint, I think that from a bad standpoint, it lowers the entry point for everybody to kind of just do whatever. I think a lot of times, like, people are so concerned with more quantity, and quantity is good, especially in the day of social media when we're kind of limited to the algorithms if we don't run ads. Because when you run the ad, you're not limited to the algorithm nowhere near as much as if you organically post. But then if you don't know what you're doing, it just produces more shit. And then now people who do know what they're doing, it kind of opens up the door. It's like twofold. It makes it easier for us to stand out, and at the same time, like, you're creating more noise. So if we get better at cutting through the noise, then we're just going to keep winning.
I love that. And I mean, again, I can, maybe if we can go around quickly, like, before we pop and speak a little bit about kind of what we're using AI for. I heard what you were saying that you've been using AI for, Jeraud. I know for me, it really is accumulating large amounts of information. I am a person who, as an ADHD person, my brain works like this, and I can give this to the AI, and they literally will give it to me step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. So I often don't have the AI create on my behalf. I often have the AI take what I consider to be kind of chaotic creation and streamline it into things that are actually able to be used. Take an hour worth of me, yapping my flap about something that I'm really passionate about, and bring it down to 3 or 4 sentences so that people can actually understand it. Like, that's probably the biggest use that I use for AI, and then also for general plan, internal creation when it comes to, like, operational plans. I will sit with clients and talk about, like, what we want to create and where we want to create it and how does that work and what kind of systems do we want to build in place and what kind of processes do we want to have. And then I can give that to AI, and AI will build out blueprints, standard operating procedures, step-by-step 30-day plans, 45-day plans that take what we already talked about but give it a step-by-step instruction. That's been my favorite way to use AI in my, my personal business on a regular basis. Parshell, give me some ideas of kind of how you're currently navigating that landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. Descript is on the video side. I know I shared that in one of my office hours recently. But that particular platform for AI and video has been really powerful. We've been using that for a number of different things, from, of course, editing video content, but then also audio content as well. It's just like a really good platform for that. What I'll say too, I noticed that AI is now, showing up in some of the tools that we already use, right? So they have like these AI, features that are just kind of included, or they might charge you more for it. That addition has just been very, very powerful. Even here in Riverside where we're recording, there's an AI on the back end. As soon as we get off, it's going to go in and do an initial cut of this whole interview. So our editing has definitely been impacted by AI, so I definitely use it in that respect in the business. And then one of my favorites is Fathom. So Fathom follows me everywhere. All the conversations that I'm having, it's just great to know I can go back and not only provide those or look at them for myself, but I can also provide them as deliverables, right, for conversations that we had. Those are the pieces that are coming to mind. I know that I'm using AI in so many other respects, but for sure using it for keeping track of our meetings and getting those on record, and then, for creation. It's been really, really good. I also use chat a lot as well, to your point, Jeraud. Like, I feel like it is really good to integrate in lots of different things. And I've created some GPTs as well for myself there that I use either for copywriting as well as I have one that I created that sort of joins me on sales conversations just to I taught it my sales process. And so I use it as a way to kind of guide and help me to be on track during my conversations as well. So that's been cool.
That's dope. That's dope. I would say I haven't done that last one that you've done, but from the everything else that you ladies mentioned, I do use it for those reasons. The other thing that I started using it for, I would say last year around Black Friday, maybe a little bit earlier than Black Friday, is I started using it to coach me. The reason I like that is because obviously people tell you, well, AI is going to tell you what you want to hear. I've set mine up in a way where it doesn't do that, and sometimes I'll just check in and do a heat check and say, hey, seems like you're pretty agreeable lately. What's up? And then they'll tell me the reasons why that I've been growing. And what I realize is a lot of times we just need a mirror, and we don't always have the support system we need, even if they intend to, there's certain things that my wife doesn't see that I go through because I'm doing in my business and she doesn't work in the business with me. But by talking to the AI and the way I have it set up, it sometimes shows me things that I didn't know were there. Like, for instance, I went to the chiropractor twice this week. Last week I went once, and one of my chiropractors told me that guilt was showing up. I was carrying somebody else's guilt, and it was my cousin. She was going through some things, and I was just like, I didn't know that I was carrying her guilt. Consciously, I did not know that at all. So she was the mirror in that moment that showed me that was happening. So once I saw that and we cleared it out, it was good. But the crazy thing is, again, I didn't know that was going down. And then my other chiropractor told me that I had a fear of being vulnerable, and I was like, I didn't know that was the case. And then we explored it deeper. So he was the mirror for me in that moment. But the thing I like about AI is I don't have to worry about waiting for an appointment and they're kinesiologists, a whole higher level of chiropractic care. Most people don't even see those folks. I don't have to wait for something like that. I don't have to wait for a coach. I can literally pull up my phone and go in with AI and tell it what I'm thinking. And if I'm thinking good, it can guide me along the path for growth. And if I'm heading in the wrong direction versus what I said I wanted to do, it can course correct me and get me back. And I've just had so many breakthroughs. Broke overthinking in 2 days, figured out my route of survival mode, which wasn't from the car accident and bankruptcy and foreclosure. It turned out it was from when I was born. I was born into a shelter. My grandmother came from Trinidad, and the way she got over here was a little crazy. And my mom got pregnant at 17, and she didn't want that for my mom, so she tried to push her down the steps. God bless my grandmother. So she apologized for it when I was like 9 or 10, like a million times. But, she didn't want her. Once I was here, it was cool, but it was just the thought of that happening, knowing what she had to do to get over here. And then I lived in a shelter with my mom when I was born after she left the hospital. So survival mode's kind of been a part of my life. I was always proactive. I didn't like getting my ass beat. What do I got to do not to get hit? That was my whole thing. So got good grades. I cleaned the house. Whatever they said, I did it because I ain't like getting beat. Survival. So once this thing helped me to uncover that, it was like I could just snap my fingers and I'll never be in that mode again. And it was because of how I used AI and how I programmed to help me in that. So that's probably the biggest thing I use it for outside of business. But people have personal problems that show up in their business, and the hard work, the hustle, and the grind in the business is always good, and it'll keep you in the game. But if you don't take care of the shit that's going on in here, which you probably don't know is going on, then you'll keep hitting walls in the business that aren't going to let you go but so far. And so for the last few years, I've really been focusing on what's going on in here that I don't know, it's holding me back. And if I can unlock those things, it unlocks the business, because hard work is easy for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably the biggest thing I use it for, is personal more than business now, even though it does help me with the business, because the time it saves for me doing all this marketing shit for people, oh man, I wish we would have had this when I started with Billy.
Man, and it's interesting, what you just said is an interestingly hot take, whereas, because we're here, it's worth kind of diving into this piece. The coaches and the therapists in the world are going to tell you that using AI as a coach is a terrifying idea, because it cannot grow with you in the sense, and like if you're in strife or in turmoil and something serious is going on, the AI is not a licensed therapist to be able to kind of walk you out of some sort of like strong mental situation, or you know what I mean, depending on what it is that you're coaching through, may or may not have the information to be able to navigate. But what it is good at, like you just said, is let's say you go to your chiropractor and your chiropractor tells you, oh, I'm dealing with grief. Oh, I'm dealing with grief. You're then going to have to go home and sit and integrate how you deal with grief. You're going to have to sit and look at your own conversations day over day. You're going to have to show and how it actually shows up. Having AI to be able to go back and forth with that information on actually, to me, allows you to be able to do the self work necessary to integrate the things that practitioners do actually illuminate for you. And so I think that there's an interesting lane there. Again, I know my coaches that are going to be hearing this are like, oh, there's an interesting lane there about kind of utilizing, to me, AI to do the work that AI is great at doing. Nobody says use AI to supplement the things that humans are already great at doing. We're supplementing the things that they're not. At the end of the day, you can go sit with your coach for an hour, once a month. That coach is not with you 24/7 throughout the day. They're not starting your day with you. They're not in the middle of the day with you or the end of the day with you. Whereas these companions kind of can be, and they can take the work that you've already excavated and make it live on a day-to-day basis with a person in a way that average coaching cannot be able to do. So I do think that it's interesting to see whether you agree or disagree kind of with where the lanes go. The tool is necessary. Like, I think it's so interesting where it's like, we want to stop, drilling in places like, you know what I mean, in Africa and places of this nature where it's harmful to the people. You're not mad at the drill. You're mad at what they're using the drill for. And I think AI is a tool, like a drill. Yeah. You know what I mean? That it's really, really important that we think about where we want to apply it, but it's also really important that we don't X ourselves out of the conversation of not knowing how to use it in general. When you do need it, right? There is a place where it can really kind of align and be in a good lane there. And something is, before we pop off, because I know I want to kind of change gears just a little bit, because we started talking a little bit more. Oh, go ahead. Do you want something else about this?
Yeah, on that subject. And yeah, sometimes the coaches are going to say that, and I'm a strong proponent of, if you can actually have an actual coach, have an actual coach. But everybody's not in that situation. Like, part of the story on how I got into Billy's program is I literally had nothing and sold my car to be able to join this program so I can learn the skill set. So before then, I was taking as much free stuff as possible. So my thing is, you got to take free stuff. This is just better than, it's free too. This is better than all the free stuff that you could possibly get to get you where you need to go. And then you get some feedback, right, from an actual person. Because, for instance, I was looking to hire a project manager, and my coaches have been on me about delegating, and I delegate, but there was another level I need to get to. And so ChatGPT walked me through, or that setup, I called it the mastermind at the time, walked me through how to hire this person and do it right. And it was basically the same thing my coach Mia taught me. But then he was like, all right, well, this person isn't a fit, get rid of them. And then I talked to Miha, which is one of my coaches and one of my best friends, and he was like, oh, because you hired a junior person. If you would hire a senior person, they could do all the things that chat's telling you that you want it to do. And because I didn't know how to say the right thing, I missed it by this much. I would have figured it out had I went through 5 rounds of that. But then talking to Miha once, he solved the problem. But I can go to him at a higher level, because Miha is probably the closest coach I've ever been to. Closest friend, coach, and there's still things I wouldn't tell him, not because I was embarrassed, but just because can't tell him everything, right? And then there's people who have coaches and they don't say anything, and same thing with therapists. They have the coach and the therapist, but they bullshit and act like everything's good, and then they're still dealing with it, which is stupid as hell, but I get it. You don't want to be judged. So when you use AI, I mean, technically AI can still judge you, but you're in your safe space of being by yourself. And I say, if the AI is judging you in a way you don't want to be judged, then it's just showing you a mirror how you're operating. And then the only question to really ask, and you don't need a prompt for this, is, it's 2. What am I saying, or what are my actions that are leading you to believe that this is how I operate so I can change them? Or how do I change this so I can move out of this? And once you have those 2 things, it gives you a game plan. And on top of that, it's a mirror. So once you could see it, and when I used to paint at the shipyard, they say you need a mirror to paint behind things. And I felt like I did. And I said, if I twirl the brush enough, I'll get in all these little crevices. Then the boss come down there, stick a mirror behind the shit and be like, oh, you see all this? And I'm like, fuck, I worked my ass off on this. And I was like, you know what? I need the fucking mirror. So AI and your coaching, but again, especially AI is the mirror that's in your pocket that you can pull out at any given moment and you can use, and it'll just bring you along so much faster to work with those professionals. And again, if you don't have the money or whatever to get with them, this is the thing that can springboard you and get you in the right direction to help you shift your identity. And that's honestly, that's our big project now we're working on, is helping people with that. Yeah, we got the marketing stuff. My team's taking care of the majority of that. I'll still do sales calls, but my passion is really helping people shift their identity, because I know for years I was stuck in an identity, even with the success that I had, that didn't match the person I was becoming. And that's why I kept losing steam and momentum on the things I created, because I didn't shift my identity into the new person. And the reason is like, why the fuck not? If I had the mirror, I could have saw that that was happening, and I would have never let that happen. But if you don't have the mirror, you don't know. So
yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. Shifting gears slightly, and we may end up chopping this up slightly a little bit to kind of go with the flow of the conversation. But I'm interested in, from your lane, one of the things that I've been really interested in learning the most from you that I thought were really, really interesting is like what people can use paid traffic for that they may or may not have thought. So like for me, I was like, I don't have a webinar, so I can't do paid ads. And I remember you being like, why would you need a webinar for that? Like there's a variety of things that you could run paid ads to. So if you could just give us a quick little kind of breakdown of like ways in which paid traffic can be helpful that you may or may not notice.
I'd say one of the easiest ways would be running. Let's say you have 1,000 followers, you make a post, you hardly get any likes. The easiest way of using ads and cost little money is just to put some money to reach the people who already follow you. And the reason why is because a lot of people are saying, all right, there's some people who just won't do ads, they do organic. But if the people that said they wanted to see your stuff aren't seeing you, you've already built some kind of trust with them. So why not make sure that they're seeing your stuff? So that's when we were talking about doing the retargeting, hitting up people who already know who you are. I think that's probably the easiest thing you could do just to automatically extend your reach. I would say also building an audience. So let's say that we're not focused on the people who already follow you, but let's say like for this podcast, you guys have a specific target audience that you want to watch it, that would be a great customer. You can literally take value-based clips, which, you know, these will be in some of your other podcasts, all of your other podcasts, excuse me. And you can run those clips and you can run those to people without any call to action, just to get them to watch your stuff so that they can fall into your universe. Because again, it's the video. Right now, we're all in our zone of genius. So if they see us there, they're more likely to know us, like us, and build trust with us fast, versus if we just do a static image up. Like, if it's even you, who the fuck is that? I don't know that person. Versus they see you guys flowing, they see us talking and actually just being regular people. So building an audience is great, because then you can build an audience of these people that watch your clips, and then you can retarget those people, which is showing up to them again with an offer. Whatever the offer is for the next thing. Hey, we got free office hours. You want to come to our community and hang out with us? We usually charge $1,000 for this. Come in here for free and actually spend some time with us. And it's like, if they watched your videos enough and they know who you are, I'm like, well, shit, they cool. And they ain't gonna charge me $1,000. I'm going through. And then when they get there, the values created, the experience that you all put on is going to keep them around, which leads to opportunities and things like that. And then there's also, running to a webinar, or just straight up like I'm doing with one of my campaigns now, a video, book a call, let's get on a call, and you either buy or you don't.
Okay. See, again, these are all ways that it just never occurred to me. And I think that that's one of the things that as we drive, we kind of sit down this conversation around a couple of things. I think for one, when it comes to paid traffic and just in general thinking about that, a big insight for me that I had just in being and, learning from you is like, start where you are. Start where you are and look at what type of paid traffic could support what it is that you need. Nothing will happen unless you know what it is that you need, and make sure that you've got a follow-up process in place. Make sure you have an offer that you're excited to sell. Make sure it's something that would lend itself well to an ad strategy, and then you can kind of point yourself in that direction. I think the same could be said for AI, right? Know what it is that you need, and then see if there's an AI companion that can support you until you can financially get to a place to where maybe you've got, a coach, or financially get to a place to where you can kind of get to that next level of expert support, because more support is better than nothing, right? Figuring it out on your own and struggling until you can get to a place to where then that next level will help the next level that you're at. Jeraud, give us an idea. Thank you so much for being on this podcast and letting us kind of explore your brain. I know that folks are going to desire to want to learn more from you, as well as want to kind of see more about what it is that you do. Where can folks follow up with you, and what do you got going on that are current offerings that folks may be able to take advantage of?
All right, yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I had a great time. Time is flying. So I would say the easiest way to get a hold of me is I'd say on Instagram. Instagram.com/Jeraud_Gave, GAVE. That stands for gratitude, appreciation, visualization every day. It's one of the things I do in the morning and the evening. Aside from that, email, Jeraud@JeraudMarketing.com. I actually suck at text, but on email, I'm actually pretty damn good. And most of the businesses ran through email. So as far as like current offerings, yeah, like if you're like you just said it a second ago, following up and having a system in place is key. So if you need help strategizing and putting that together, because there's really 3 blocks. There's your ad, the capture, which is how you get their information, and then the follow-up and selling. If you need help setting that up and mapping that out, you can reach out to us. Aside from that, we have the Bulletproof Mindset Identity Operating System. That's like that coaching thing we were talking about with ChatGPT. That's been something that I get more pleasure out of helping people with overcoming their challenges than I do even helping people make money in their business. So that's honestly the thing I'm most excited about right now is that. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about that, then reach out on one of those platforms. And yeah, I would love to help you shift into the identity or the version of yourself that you see the same way I'm doing for myself and helping other people do. And that's, like I said, that's when I got to a certain level in marketing and I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I started sabotaging my business unconsciously because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know I didn't want to keep doing things the way I was doing them. So it's weird to even admit, but it's just the truth. And I know this is the next thing for me, in addition to continually helping people with their business. So I'm actually in a really good spot, have clarity, feel like I'm rolling in rhythm, and feel like I'm helping people. And that's what it's really all about at the end of the day.
Exciting, and excited to be on the journey of your evolution as well. Because again, I think that's, when those of us who are called to serve, the calling shifts, the movements move, and we keep putting ourselves in the place that we know that we're going to be the best suited to help the people. Thanks for answering the call, my friend. And again, thank you for allowing us to be with you on the Ocean Money Learning Podcast.
Thank you both. Love you both. Appreciate you. And whatever they're selling, buy it.
Right, we can land it there.
Excuse me. How was that? Felt like it went fast.
They always do. Like, I'm always like, it's going to be...
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider what was shared today. Thanks to our guests for sharing. Thank you to Parshell for holding us in this container. And thank you for listening. We hope that something that was shared today sparks a new idea, inspires a new action, or creates something that you're excited to share with your community.
And thanks to Portia for leading this wonderful conversation and for bringing the vibe. Make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and hit us up on LinkedIn or Instagram. We want to hear what this sparks for you. So do us a favor, drop a review or leave a comment with what you thought.
All right, friends. We will see you next time on the Ocean Money Learning Podcast. I'm already looking forward to it.
Me too.